This is the tutorial for Chapter 2, Section 3, Solving Multi-Step Equations, Day number 2. So let's take a look at our first problem here. It talks about general admission tickets to a fair cost $3.50 per person. Okay, that's some important information. Let's underline that. It says ride passes cost an additional, $5.50 per person. Parking costs $6 for the family, and the total cost for the ride passes and parking, so ride passes and parking, was $51. How many people in the family attended? Okay, so we're going to say P equals the number of people in family. So I've defined my variable. Now we're going to set up an equation. First thing is that the fare costs $3.50 per person. So one person pays $3.50, but there's more than one person in this family. So we've got to put the number of people in the family times by $3.50. Ride passes cost an additional $5.50 per person. So we're going to add on $5.50 per person. Parking costs $6 for the family, and the total was $51. So we're ready to solve. So we're just going to do some opposite operations and bring the 6 over to the right hand side. Subtracting those two gives me 55. On this side, I end up adding these two terms because they are like terms, and adding those together gives me 9p. And so when I go ahead and do the division, I'll end up with my answer. Now over here I end up subtracting wrong, so I had this 5 here, so let's fix that real quick. So this should end up being 45, and this way the division goes in there evenly. Can't have a part of a person, so now it looks like it's going to work out. So dividing by 9 gives me P equals 5. So 5 people in the family. So let's take a look at the next problem that we end up seeing. And it's just an equation with some fractions. So if we're going to deal with the fractions, you could go ahead and subtract or add 1/2 to both sides, but a lot of people want to clear the fractions. So let's talk about what to do that. What we'll do is put a 12 next to each of these terms, because 3, 2, and 4 all go into 12. And if I do that, then I don't have the fraction to deal with. So 2 goes into 12, we have 6 times. 4 goes into 12. I have 3 times, and then multiplying across gives me 4x minus 6 equals 9. So now it's just a two-step equation with no fractions. And I think you'll make less errors if you have it this way. So we have 4x equals 15. Dividing by 4 gives me my answer. So let's see here. 4 goes into 15. We have 3 times with 3 left over. So 3 and 3/4. Over here, well, this time we'd want to multiply by 30 if we use this method, because 5 and 6, no common factors, so we have to multiply the two together, and that's what we get. So 5 goes into 36 times, so that becomes 6g. 6 goes into 35 times, so that becomes 25, and you got to multiply the 30 by the 6 here, and that's going to give us a big number of 180. So I'll go ahead and subtract the 25 from both sides, leaving me with 6g equals, and then you got to borrow a little bit. And so you end up with a 1, 5, and a 5. And so I go ahead and do that division, and it's not going to go in there evenly. But 6 does go into 155 25 times with 5 left over. So 25 and 5, 6. Taking a look at the next one. So this one has decimals. To clear the decimals, you're going to multiply by some factor of 10. So if we look at this, if I do 10, it just moves the decimal one space. Here I want to multiply by 100 to move the decimal. So you got to multiply by the same number. So I'm going to multiply every number by 100. So we end up with 52y plus 250 equals 510. So the numbers are bigger, but there's no decimals to deal with. Sometimes we'll end up having an easier time if that's the case. So 52y equals, and we've got to borrow a little bit right here. So this changes to a 4, so we have 2, 6, and 0. Dividing 52 into 260, wrote that number backwards, so let's fix that real quick. So we'll try that once more. So this makes 260 divided by 52. Well, it does go in there evenly. It does go in there 5 times. So y is 5. 5 times 2 is 10. And 5 make 25. Add the 1 makes 26. So if we were to do this one, you'd have to multiply by 100 if you use this method. And that means you have to multiply the 4n by 100. So you're going to get a big number here, and that happens when you use this method, but you don't have the decimals to deal with. Say 15.76, you still have the same number of digits here. So I subtract the 24 from both sides, and that leaves me with 15, 5, and a 2. So 1552. Dividing by 400n. And when we do that division, it doesn't quite go in there evenly. So let's see how many times. It looks like it's going to be n equals 3 and, let's find out what the decimal is when we punch that into the calculator, divided by 400, and it's going to be 3.88. So let's take a look at the last type of problem that we'll end up seeing is this one here. We've got to find out what the value of x is. So on this one, what I'll end up doing is, first of all, looking at each of the angles. I see we have 5x, 4x, and 10, 80, and 90. This makes 90 when you see just the box here. Well, what we should know is that all the angles together sum to make 360. So since it's a quadrilateral, that's what it makes. And the rule is, if you look at and divide this into triangles, you have two triangles. In triangles, angles sum to make 180, so this makes 360. So I'm going to add up all these angles, 4x plus 10, and I've got the 80 and the 90. So I added it like this because this allows me to add up the x's and the constants and have everything in line. It's just a little bit easier for me. So 9x plus, and this makes 180 equals 360. So when I go ahead and subtract the 180 from both sides, and that leaves me with 180. So 180 equals 9x. When you divide by 9, you end up with 20. So x is 20. We'll put a degree symbol there since we're dealing in degrees, and those are the types of problems you're going to see on tonight's homework. Good luck.